All right, hello and welcome to another Expert Insight interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a rainy San Diego. I normally say sunny San Diego. Today I'm saying rainy San Diego because it's actually raining. And I am delighted to be joined from Nashville, Tennessee by Angelo Valenti. How you doing, Angelo?
I'm doing terrific. How are you doing today?
Great. And Dr. Angelo Valenti grew up in Cleveland, graduated from Case Western with a degree in psychology. He's got a master's and a PhD in social psychology from University of Georgia, taught psychology at Oklahoma City University, and served as a consultant with RHR International before starting your own practice, which is the company psychologist, where you assess talent for businesses in a variety of industries. And you're also the author of a new book, you're making this way too hard. Find your easy way to enjoy life, and you also coach individuals and groups. So what I wanted to talk to you is about the book, Angelo. So, number one, what inspired you to write this book? I'm always interested at the genesis of a book. What inspired you and you made you decide that this was the time you wanted to write this book, and this was the type of book you wanted to write.
Right. Well, actually, the genesis of this book came from another book I started to write. I wrote a leadership co-wrote a leadership book in 2005 and didn't like the way it turned out exactly. So I was kind of hesitant to write another one, but this was my first solo effort. But I decided to write another leadership book focusing on hiring and developing talent,
Hmm.
which is kind of what my jam is in my consulting career. And I made a big mistake. I wrote the first 4 chapters that were the fun chapters to write first. And then and then I kind of got stuck. I got a little
Right.
writer's block. And the idea for this book that I ended up writing had been percolating in my head for several years because in my work with business leaders, business owners, executives, uh, I noticed that many of them had what seemed to be, looking from the outside looking in, all of the trappings of success. The great
Mhm.
job, good family, big house, nice car, country club, travel all over the world, all the things people think of when you think of somebody who has success, but they didn't seem to be enjoying their life like,
Mhm.
in my opinion, like I thought they should.
Right.
So I started thinking about it, and an event occurred that really spurred my thinking on this. And I, for those who haven't seen my book, I'll show it to
Mhm.
them right now. There's the cover. You're making this way too hard. Find your easy way to enjoy life. And I spelled enjoy life NJOYLFE. And the reason I did that is because that's my license plate.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's been on every car I've had since 1991, and I've had a lot of cars since 1991, and I like cars, so I tend to get nice cars.
Mhm.
That's one of my guilty pleasures. So, at the time, I had a, Mercedes SL convertible that I parked in the parking lot of a casual dining restaurant, and I went in to pick up my to-go order, and when I came back, there was a note on the windshield, and it said, "I'd enjoy life too if I had millions in the bank and drove a $110,000 Mercedes."
Right.
So I immediately looked around. I really wanted to talk to that person because I wanted to tell that person that they had cause and effect backwards.
Mhm.
I don't enjoy life because I have whatever it is that I have. I have whatever it is that I have because I enjoy life. And I think that we were put on this earth to enjoy everything that life has to offer. And so many people get so focused on things that really are irrelevant or unimportant that they forget to spend every day enjoying yourself because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, but I think it's a great point, though, Angelo. Is that we're always is that people looking externally. Like, so the person walking by your car and thinking, looking at your license plate, and then and then having that negative reaction like, well, it's okay for you. um and it's this weird world we live in today where this comparison culture, I feel like it's gotten worse and worse, and people have gotten more more depressed and upset and angry and everything because of what they perceive out there in the world instead of them looking inwards.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so easy now to compare yourself to others because of social media and the
Mhm.
mainstream media and what you see on TV. And the big problem is what you're seeing in social media is what somebody else wants you to
Mhm.
see.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Have you
It's
seen, I just asked you, have you seen anybody having a bad life on social media?
no, well, I only sometimes on TikTok, people will
Sure.
complain about something, but most of the time, what you're seeing is a scripted, curated,
Mhm.
fake version of somebody else's life, and you're comparing your regular life to that, and there's no
Yeah.
way you can compare to that. And I've actually talked to a videographer a couple months ago who said a lot of these influencers on social media will rent a Lamborghini for a day, or they'll
Sure.
rent a yacht for a day, or they'll rent a big house for a day, and they'll film all this content, and then they'll go back to living in their parents' basement.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, and that's why I just think it's something that we have to overcome this, because it's become for me just become an epidemic of, comparison culture, and it's dragging people down. And just getting back to, as you started to, write your book, and as you started to do consulting work and that, um, what is it about human beings? Why do we want to complicate everything? Why is simplicity so difficult for us? We're fantastic at complicating things. We're really hard. We're really bad at making things simple and logical and easy.
Well, I think a big part of that is I think some people think that if it's easy, we must be doing something wrong. It it can't possibly be this easy. For example, I'm a big proponent of taking naps. I
Hmm.
think if your energy level is drained, you take a 20 or 30-minute nap, you come back, you'll be more productive. Well, if you tell a lot of people, why don't you just take a 20 or 30-minute nap? They say, well, that's being lazy. It's being
Hmm.
unproductive. I'm going to get fired if I do that. I think a lot of bosses would do themselves and their employees a favor if they let them take a little 20 or 30-minute break
Yeah.
uh, in the middle of the day, especially in the afternoon.
But we embrace, don't we? And we champion stress and
Yes.
like running around like headless chickens. We actually like champion that.
Yeah, we wear it like a badge of honor,
Yeah.
and we talk about it. Like you're bragging
Yeah.
about how miserable you are.
It's so bizarre. So what are some of the things from your your psychology and your psychology consulting? What are some of the things that you've been able to bring into your book? Some techniques or tactics to start to unravel and overcome some of these obstacles.
Well, one of the things I stress is taking control of your life. People, there's a concept called locus of control, which you might have heard of, which is the
Mhm.
idea that people either have an internal or an external locus of control. And people with an external locus of control believe that external events or luck or fate or other people or something is responsible for what happens to them in their life.
Right.
And people with an internal locus of control believe that their decisions, their behavior is what constitutes what happens to them in their life. And nobody's 100% internal or 100%
Sure. Sure. Sure.
external. But to the extent that you can have a more internal locus of control and believe that you are in control of your life, then that means if you're dissatisfied or unhappy with the life that you're living, you have it within your power to change that. If you have an external locus of control, you're just waiting for a little bit better luck to happen, and good luck with that.
Yeah. No, no, you've outsourced everything to fate at that stage, haven't you?
Yes, you have.
Um, and so when you work with leaders, and one of the things you work on is like being the best version of yourself, right?
Right.
So, and here's the thing, when you work with people on that, do people inherently know what the best version of themselves is, or do they is it a process?
Well, it's a process because we everybody gets into habits,
Mhm.
and some of those habits work to their advantage and some of those habits work to their disadvantage. And what I try to do with many people is to get them to realize the habits that are actually working against them that
Right.
they might think are working for them. And it sometimes it's hard to flip that. It's not flipping a switch. It's kind of like turning an ocean liner,
Mhm.
but eventually you can get them to the point where they realize that maybe this isn't the best way I could be approaching my job, my family, my relationships with my friends, my relationships with my community, whatever it might be, and help them build the best way to break a bad habit is to replace it with a better habit.
Right.
So, I can help work with them on building better, more fulfilling, life affirming habits.
What are some of those bad habits that you see sometimes people have that they think are good habits?
Okay, perfect example. Somebody who works 12, 14, 16 hours a day.
Mhm.
And you ask them, why are you doing that? And they say, well, I'm doing it for my family. I want to provide for my family.
Mhm.
And I asked them, have you ever asked your family whether they might not rather have you work 8 to 10 hours a day and then come home and maybe put the kids to bed or have dinner with the family or maybe
Right.
take your wife out to dinner every
Mhm.
once in a while, something like that. They're doing it for reasons, but they're not doing it for their family.
Right.
So, and
No, that
that's just one example.
no, and that's a great example because yeah, we sometimes we say this is why we're doing something, and as you said, the people who are actually impacted on it, we've never actually taken them into consideration. We're
No.
really just talking about ourselves. And when it comes to like I said earlier, when it comes to decision making, I see this all the time. I see people get very paralyzed in their decision making processes, or either they take too long, they go too deep, they make it too complicated, or the one thing I see a lot of is that just fear of making a definitive decision because in my simple way of looking at the world, if you choose you when you choose to do something by default, you unchoose other things.
Right, and
And we hate that.
that applies in so many areas of life. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else by definition. But the reason I think people get paralyzed is fear.
Hmm.
They're either afraid of making a mistake, they're afraid of looking stupid, they're afraid the decision is not going to work out well, and I'm much more inclined to have a bias toward action. I'd rather make a decision. Not to decide is to decide. And if you don't make the decision's going to be made for you by
Hmm.
something or somebody else. So I'd rather act on whatever it is that's going on rather than react to something that happens.
Yeah, and when you talk in your book about self acceptance, like what are some of the things that you need to do in order to come to some level of self acceptance? And I would say self awareness too, because I think that goes hand in hand.
Well, self-awareness is very important and something I think that is sorely lacking today. I think people are not aware of themselves and how they come across to to the rest of us.
Yeah.
Um, but self-acceptance just means understanding that you have strengths, weaknesses, quirks, qualities about yourself that are great, qualities about yourself that aren't that great, and to understand that they make you what you are.
Hmm.
And it's okay to be what you are. And it's also okay to want to improve, but it's not okay to beat yourself up for the way you are now in your quest to try to improve.
Mm.
I mean, there's some things, for example, I am not a handy person around the house at all. 0. I suppose I could watch YouTube videos or something to try to get better at it, but I'd rather pay somebody 100 or 200 bucks to come and do what I can't do very well so
Mhm.
that they could do it much better, and I can maybe sit and watch them and learn something along the way, pay a little tuition
Yeah.
while I'm watching them. But if you try to be all things to all people, you're gonna end up being nothing to nobody.
Yeah. Or you could do like me, is you could use the YouTube videos and try and do it yourself and then pay somebody to come and
Right.
fix your mess.
And it'll cost twice as much because you made it much worse. I've actually done that. I tried to hang a ceiling fan one time, and the electrician just rolled his eyes at me when he saw what I tried to do.
And I think that's it. It is, Angelo. I think that's a good point, though. In that is understanding and recognizing your, your strengths and your weaknesses, and your maybe your organization strengths and weaknesses. Um, but here's the other thing: is we tend to, and as a psychologist, I'd like to get your input on this. Is why do we always focus? I mean, as leaders, oftentimes we focus on the weaknesses of our people, and rather than focusing on the strengths and really accentuating and figuring out how we can leverage that, we're always trying to fix things.
Yeah, we are, and I think the performance review process
Oh,
has played a big part. I think those are at best misleading and at worst useless, or
mm-hmm.
at worst damaging, and maybe at best misleading. Um, and I think I've always believed, why not accentuate your
Yeah,
strengths rather than trying to focus on a weakness that you're never going to be great at.
yeah,
Some people are take details, for example. Some people are love doing detail work.
mm-hmm.
Some people are terrible at doing detail work. Well, if you take somebody who's really good, y- SalesPOP is the name of your
Mm-hmm.
show, and many salesmen, the worst part of their job is filling out the sales reports at the
Sure.
end of the week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, they hate it. They're not good at it. It's a waste of time in their mind. So rather than taking a great salesperson and make them great at doing sales reports, why not find a way to make it easier for those sales reports to get done in a way that doesn't impact their ability to work with your customers?
Yeah,
So we spend way too much time trying to turn a D player in a certain area
yeah.
into a C player rather than
Why?
taking a B player and make them an A player.
Yeah, why is it that we do that? The why what is it what drives that? Because it always fascinates me. Because you mentioned the performance review, and I completely agree with you. My experience of performance reviews over the which I think are completely useless, because I think you should be reviewing performance on a daily basis.
On a minute by minute
Yeah,
basis,
yeah.
absolutely.
But what I say to this, the most performance reviews that people go through go something like this. Well, Angelo, great year. Here's a couple of things you did well this year. Now here's 452 things that I'd like you to work on.
Right. And that person's gonna they're gonna be so frustrated
Mhm.
because they know that they're not as good as they could be at those things, but they also know that they could be better at the things that they're good at if they just had a little bit more
Yep.
support from their boss.
Yes. So why do you think it is that people focus like that? What is psychologically drives us towards that, the fixing?
Oh, I think many leaders feel like they're not doing the leadership thing unless they're fixing people.
Right.
And uh, that's what they should be thinking about, is how can I make it as easy as possible for these people to do their job well?
Mhm.
And everybody's good at something, or they wouldn't be working there in the first place.
Yeah.
So most leaders spend too much time getting in the way of people who are trying to do
Yeah.
their job well. I mean, when you think about coaching in sports,
Yeah.
at the college or professional level, or even at the high school level, you're taking athletes who are good athletes to begin with, and you're trying to accentuate their skills to make them better,
Mhm.
right? You're not going to take a left tackle and try to make them a wide receiver. It's just not going to work. And I think if you spend but that's what many leaders do. They spend all their time trying to turn a left tackle into a wide receiver.
Yep. Yep.
So you
Absolutely.
end up not having a left tackle and have a wide receiver that can't run a
Yeah.
six
Yeah.
6-second 40, right?
And here's another just on the psychology of things, as I say. Why is it again? It's this kind of same theme, right? We're great at spotting things that aren't working, right? Fantastic, or mistakes or whatever. We're really bad at catching people doing things right, doing
Yes,
good things, and acknowledging that. I mean, that seems. I mean, and I think we're all guilty of that. But that always seems to be for me a weird psychological thing. Is that we can spot a mistake and we're on it. We can't wait to tell you that,
right.
oh, you need to fix this, but we blow past when you do something excellent.
Well, that's because, you're the leader, you're supposed to be an expert at something or the best at something. So when you spot a weakness, it's kind of your way of saying I'm better than you. And uh the best leaders that I know, and I've had the privilege of working with a lot of very, very good leaders, is they have an uncanny blend of confidence and humility. It's so hard to blend confidence and humility,
Mhm,
but the great ones manage to do that, and the way they do that is to focus outward, focus
mhm.
on their team. They know what they can do, so they focus on, "Let's make my team as good as they can be,"
Yeah,
and you will get a much better result from a person if you compliment what they do well than you will if you criticize what they do wrong.
yeah,
Same
yeah,
applies at home too in your personal life, you know, uh,
for
with your
sure.
kids or with your spouse or with whoever, with your friend. Try criticizing your wife continuously. See how that works for you.
I would recommend you some good divorce attorneys.
Exactly.
Well, listen, Angelo, this has been fantastic. All of Angelo's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do remind people about what you do.
Okay. I'm a, I help companies hire and develop the talent that they have. I coach leaders. I coach aspiring leaders. I'm working with people now on how to live their best life, how to find joy, peace, contentment in their life. I developed a course called Enjoy Life the Easy Way, which is really 8 coaching sessions with me for less than half of what one coaching session costs. And I'm just trying to help people uh, access that information more readily so that they can find a little more joy in their life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we need more people going around with license plates like yours.
They
I
can't
think
have mine though.
kind of yours, but they can probably come up with some variations of their own. But I mean,
Right.
I think so. That's what people should be aspiring to do: is live your best life, enjoy your life, and one day be able to have it on your license plate because you want to advertise what a great life you're living.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, thanks again, Angelo. Thank you for watching and listening, and I'll see you all again very soon. Thank you.